Can you hear me? All right. Thank you so much, Jin Yong. Thank you so much to Alex, our MC, for here today. My name is Faridq Ridzuan. I am currently the Vice President of CFA Society Malaysia. But as I like to say which is my, I think I have to say my day job, considering that it takes up so much of my time. As a part-timer, I also work with one of the government-linked investment companies as a fund manager. And my duty here today is to really explain three things: the why, the what, and the how. Yeah? The why. Why do you want to take the CFA program? What is the CFA program all about? And finally, how are you going to take the CFA program? So with that, let's dive right into it. First of all, the CFA Institute is a not-for-profit global institution. Essentially, our mission is to do three things. Yeah, it's to promote the highest standards of ethics, education, and finally, professional excellence, because we believe that this will ultimately lead to the benefit of society. Now, that's a lofty goal. Yeah, that's a lofty goal. And that is the CFA Institute's goal. My question here today is to all of you, is what is your goal? Okay, so I've done this for a long time. Yeah, I also lecture for the CFA program for about, I think it's my 6th or 7th year lecturing for the CFA program, and I've taught hundreds of students who have come through the program. And essentially, there are three types of people who take the CFA program. The three types. My question to you is, are you one of those types? The first type who usually takes the CFA program are the ones who wants to be like this guy over here, Warren Buffett. Yeah? So they believe that they want to be able to beat the market. They want to be able to exercise that mental, play that mental stimulating game that we all play, yeah, and try to outperform the market. How many of you are here today because you want to be like him? No, nobody. Not a single one of you are interested in the field of investing. One. There's only one person. Yeah, and this is actually really reflective. You know why? Because, and this is exactly through my experience here, the bulk of people who want to take the CFA exam is because of number two. They watched something like Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, they watched something like Wall Street, the original Wall Street, Gordon Gekko kind of movies. By the way, Jin Yong, I think we're using a lot of old movie references here, yeah? Back to the Future, Wall Street, Star Wars, but that's beside the point. But most of them are inspired by some way or another to be like the guy on the slide right now. What do I mean by that? They want to join a sell-side investment bank. They want to be able to have that glory, that the glamorous life that they see in the movies, yeah, which is flying, meeting clients, talking about investment strategy, recommending stocks, and getting paid a lot of money to do so. So how many of you are in group two? How many of you want to be like this guy? Be honest, don't worry, guys. I trust that you probably won't see the guy next to you ever again. So let's be honest. Who wants to be number two? Because this is at least 60%, and I am one of them. Yeah? I watched the original Wall Street movie a long time ago, and I thought, wow, this sounds like a fantastic way to make a living. And the third reason why I think most of you are here today is because you want money, right? You want a high-paying career. You want to be able to not just survive. You want to thrive. And who doesn't want, right? Who doesn't want a high-paying job? Just kind of introduce me to a person who doesn't want a high-paying job, and I want to shake the guy's hand, because that is a monk, essentially. Yeah? So most of us are here because of these three reasons. Number one, they want to be able to understand the field of investing. Number two, some of them, they're attracted to the glamorous life or what they perceive to be. The third one is because they think that it can lead to high-paying career. Yeah, and this is actual statistics in Malaysia. Yeah, so we're not going to be using international benchmarks because that's really far away, right? We're going to see right here in Malaysia how much do CFA charters get paid. They get paid by an extra of at least 20%. That's what the data says. That's not what I'm saying, that's what the data says. Now, those are the goals, those are the potential goals and reasons why you are here today and listening to why you should be taking the CFA exam. My job is to answer that question. Are you going to be able to do these three things? Now, in the short answer, I'm sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but the answer is it depends. Yeah, it really, really depends. What does it depend on? It depends on, never mind, let's get to that part a little bit later into the talk. But essentially, yeah, these are the three goals. Be honest with yourself exactly why you are trying to take the CFA exam, and then I'll tell you whether you will be able to pass the exam, get your charter, or you will be part of the 50% of cohorts who do not pass the exam at the end of the day. All right? Okay. First of all, what is the CFA Institute? What is this charter that everyone seems to be talking about? Yeah? And why is it so well regarded? The Financial Times calls it the gold standard in investing knowledge and experience. Why is it such highly regarded? That's the question that we're going to come into. Yeah? So we've already answered why we're here today. Now we're going to answer why do other parties value the CFA so much. Yeah? So there are three big parties that we're going to talk about. We'll talk about universities. Yeah, we're going to talk about regulators. We're going to be talking also about employers, which is why we are most of us are here today. So the first one, universities. Yeah, we have what we call two types. Yeah? There are two types of universities who would usually be involved. The first type is what we call the affiliated universities. So affiliated universities in Malaysia, we have about 14 affiliated university partners. If you are a local graduate from any one of these universities, you will be entitled to apply for a scholarship. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that scholarship and why you probably are looking for a scholarship a little bit later on. But if you're any one of these 14 partner universities, take note, meet me later on the other side of this room, and we'll talk about some of the ways that you can apply for a scholarship. Right, so this is very important. But why? Why do universities like this so much? Yeah, why do universities, and we're not just talking about in Malaysia, but we're talking about all over across the world, from the Americas to Asia Pacific, Europe. Why are they applying so much, so much value to the CFA Charter? We'll be answering that in just a moment. The second party that also values the CFA Charter are regulators. Right? And this is something that you have to understand about the financial industry. The finance industry is one of the most regulated industries that exists today. Yeah? Because it involves money. Yeah? Money management is not a simple thing. Yeah? Because as part of my job, we have to meet some of our investors. And some of our investors are actually from the poorest side of society. And this we are talking about the most rural areas who have entrusted their money to a money manager that they have never seen before and expect them to be able to act on their best interests. Yeah, so just to share a personal story for everyone over here, as part of this company's, I would say, giving back program, we have something called Minggu Saham Amanah. So I have met, and I still remember, and this experience has stuck with me for the longest time. Yeah, so I met this imam, he's a local imam of one of the suraus. And this was all the way in Perlis. Yeah, all the way in Perlis. And the classic joke about Perlis, right? If there's 9 people in Perlis, that means that there's one more than there should be in Perlis. Anyways, so I met this guy in Perlis. And he said to me, "Oh, Encik, terima kasih." He thanked me. He said, why are you thanking me? He said, "Thank you, because I believe that you will help me send my daughter to university." That's what he was saying. And this is a guy, if you've never met before, who has entrusted his entire life savings to you in order for you to be able to fulfill some part of his dream. And that's what the finance industry is 60% all about. Yeah? It's other people hoping that you are doing the right thing on their best interest, on their behalf. So that's why it's one of the most regulated industries out there, because it's open to so much manipulation and fraud. And I'm sure this is something that everyone over here is extremely familiar with, right? But good news is that the regulators value the CFA Charter. So we're going to be talking about not one, but three. Yeah? 3 professional bodies that grant waivers for the professional certificates that you have to take if you want to be a part of the finance industry here in Malaysia. The first one is SC, the Securities Commission of Malaysia. So they don't give exemptions for one, but they give exemptions for up to 4 licenses if you were to pass the CFA. Yeah, and you just have to take the first level in order to qualify for these exemptions. That brings you closer to your dream, right? Remember I asked you about the goal at the start? That brings you closer to that dream of entering the industry a lot faster than if you do not have one. The second one, Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, who's also one of our sponsors here today. Yes, and Financial Planning Association of Malaysia also gives you an exam waiver. And the best part is, if you were to complete the CFA exam, all you have to do is take one module, just one module, in order to get another title, which is the CFP, a Certified Financial Planner. So the CFA doesn't only educate you, it saves you a lot of time, especially when it comes to obtaining these licenses. The third party, AICB. So if you want to be a chartered banker, the CFA is also another route, a faster route to getting a chartered banker award. Yeah? So there are three regulations, 3 regulators who highly value the CFA and the CFA Charter. The last one we're going to talk about, employers. Yeah, so the CFA is not a local, I would say it's not a local certificate. The CFA is a global certificate. In fact, they call it a global passport. Now, if anyone here wants to work in Dubai, right now, there is one entry, there's one opening. They actually reached out to me personally, and this was through the CFA network, asking for any CFA charter holders here in Malaysia. So if any of you guys would like to work in Dubai, just meet me after this and we can, kind of set something up. Yeah, but essentially, how did they reach out to me? How did they find me in the first place? The CFA network. And what were they looking for? CFA charter holders. So it's not a local, it's not a local certificate in the least of sense. Yeah? It's highly valued by employers overseas. So we have all of the classic names over here. And in Malaysia, that is also the same. Yeah, so we have everyone from Maybank all the way to consulting firms like Deloitte, which employ CFA charter holders. So that is the why. Yeah, that is the why you want to be interested in the CFA and the CFA certificate. All right? Now we're going to be talking about what roles that you can do after getting the CFA certificate. Now the bulk or the majority of the of charter holders, those who earn the charter, those who pass the 3 levels of the exam, work as portfolio managers. Because that's what the CFA ultimately teaches you. It teaches you the simple thing of, if somebody or if a group of people were to hand over a pool of money to you, how are you going to invest that pool of money on their behalf? That's it. That's all the CFA Charter teaches you. So if you are interested in being a money manager, if you're interested in understanding how do I invest on my behalf or on behalf of my client, the CFA Charter is for you. So that's the number one role. The number two role would be everyone in the investment banking industry. Yeah, so everyone in investment banking, anyone who deals with a financial asset in some way or another will benefit from having the CFA Charter, or at least the knowledge that you gain after studying for the CFA. All right. The third way that you can, the third role or the third biggest, largest employers are anyone in corporate finance. Corporate finance or anyone in a strategic point of view, yeah? Anyone in the strategic role. Why? Because you have to understand. Yeah, you don't only have to prepare accounting reports, but you have to be able to speak the financial language. Yeah, if you're given a set of financial statements, what do they mean? How do you analyze that? What does that tell you? And how do you then act after understanding those financial statements? Right, so those three are the biggest employers of CFA charter holders. Now let's talk about the what. What is this all about? Yeah? So we went through such extensively about who are the roles, who are the employers that employ CFA charter holders. We talked about, why it's so valued by regulators, by universities, and, these parties which play a central role in finance. Now we're going to talk about what. What is it all about? What is this CFA charter? Right? And the simple answer is that it is these 10 topics. Now it looks just, discrete. What I mean by discrete is that it looks like it's individual and it's separate from one another. But these 10 topics, we'll be talking about things like quantitative methods, economics, financial reporting, equity, fixed income, derivatives, alternatives. All of this is really just to teach you, ultimately at the end of the day, how do you manage money on behalf of yourself or a client. Yeah? And let's have a look at how exactly that looks like. How exactly that looks like. So we talk about over here, level 1, level 2, and level 3. So in level 1, it will equip you with the basics of what a financial professional should understand. So it gives you a solid foundation in quantitative methods, in economics. So anyone from an engineer all the way to a dentist can understand and be on the same page after passing level 1. They will be already able to understand the fundamentals of finance. They'll be able to already talk about the basics of what finance is all about. But as you progress from level 1 to level 3, the way things change. So while level 1 is really quant heavy, while level 1 is really concept heavy, level 3 is all about portfolio management. So level 3 will then teach you how do you manage money on behalf of yourself or a client. You've built up the finance. Level 2 is all about valuation. It's about understanding how do you value financial assets from equities, the stocks, all the way until options and derivatives. How do you value each of these different types of financial instruments? And the third one is to teach you how do you then apply, how do you then use all of these different financial assets in order to meet the risk and return expectations of yourself or that of a client. Right? So it's very simple. That's what the CFA essentially teaches you. Okay? We've also, the best thing about the CFA is that the information contained in the CFA syllabus is always and regularly updated. So topics such as AI, we talk about big data, we talk about machine learning, we talk about quantitative or statistical methods that you need to use in order to create these mathematical models. All of that is taught all the way even as early as level 1. And this new information was updated, I think, in 2021. So everyone here who starts to take the CFA from today will be up to date with all of the regular and new concepts in finance today. So it's not It's always constantly refreshed, so you do not need to worry if these concepts are outdated or not. That's the most beautiful part about the CFA. Now we're going to talk about how, yeah? I'm sure everyone here is wrapped up about wanting to take the CFA exam. Okay? Now we're going to talk about how you're able to take the CFA exam. The first thing that you have to do is you have to ask yourself, do you meet any of these three requirements? The first one is you have to be in the last year of your university, or you have to have a bachelor's degree, or you have to have a professional work experience of more than 4,000 hours or at least 36 months. That's 3 years. So if you have worked for 3 years, but you do not have a bachelor's degree or a university degree, do not despair. You still qualify to study for the CFA exam. All right? But if any of you here, and I say most of you, are from the student background, if you're in the last and final year of the CFA, of your university, you already qualify to sit for this first level of the CFA exams. Yeah? So after passing the level 1s, level 2 and level 3 exams, you will then earn your charter. But earning the charter is not just about passing your exams. It also involves a substantial amount of work experience. And when we talk about work experience, it has to be relevant. So you have to be in some form or another working in a finance-related role. Now, all of this tells you just one thing. Yeah? It tells you that anyone with a CFA charter not only has the knowledge, but is also an applicant of the knowledge that they use. And that is the beauty of the CFA charter. And that's why it's so valued. And that's why it's so highly regarded, not only by employers, also by regulators, and by universities. So that is the beauty of the CFA exam. Next thing that we want to talk about is the format of the exam. So we've moved on from the traditional paper-based exam, and now the CFA exam is a computer-based test. Now, be very thankful that it's not an adaptive test yet. What I mean by adaptive, it's not like the GMAT, where after you answer a question, it gets harder and harder and harder. But it is a standard set of questions that everyone has to pass. But taking the exam itself is a skill, which is something which you have to learn. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, meet me later on at the CFA booth in the ballroom next to this. Next thing we want to talk about is the exam length. It is a long exam. In total, it's about 5.5 hours. That's 5 hours and 30 minutes together, with a 30-minute break in between. Now, why is it so long? And why are there so many questions? The simple answer is this. It is to simulate an interview process. Imagine that you are in front of an interviewer at a job. When he asks you a question, how long do you have until you answer him? Right? You don't have that long. You have at the most a minute to think and give the right answer. Now, how are we going to replicate that on a scalable basis? The answer is this. And that's why the CFA, again, is so highly regarded. Because the format of exam, all the way until the knowledge that is in the syllabus is thought out extremely well and thoroughly in order to give you the best value for money. All right, so that is the CFA exam. We talk about the format also in terms of how do you answer it. In level 1, it's purely MCQ. It's purely a option 3 option question exam set type. But as you move on from level 1 to level 3, it gets progressively harder. Yeah, so you start to have to answer case-based questions. You have to start to answer long-form questions. In level 3, there is an essay format. So you will also have to be able to have the writing skills necessary in order to pass the CFA level 3. Yeah? Now, let's talk about deadlines. Now, as you can see over here, I think everyone here is most likely in aiming to get their level 1. So your exam window will be on the 15th to 21st of November. That's the earliest exam window. The second exam window will be in February, and then you have May in 2023. Now, the beauty of the CFA exam is that it has also adapted to times. Yeah? While before, we could only do it once a year, today, we can do it 4 times a year. So there are 4 testing windows throughout the year for you to take the exam. This gives everyone here a lot of flexibility in terms of timing. When do they want to sit for the exam? How they're going to sit for the exam? And most importantly, where do you want to sit for the exam? So they've not only increased the testing window, they've also increased the number of locations that you can take the exam in. So it's extremely flexible, and all of this is to help you to be able to take the exam at your convenience. Next, pricing. The fact of the matter is that it's a very comprehensive exam. Yeah? And the value in those pages, I think there's about 1,000 pages for every level, is well thought out, and it will equip you with the best tools in order to carry out your eventual job of knowing how to manage money. But here's the thing, yeah? It costs a little pretty penny. So it costs about $350 for a one-time enrollment fee. It used to be $450, but there has been a $100 discount applied. So now it's about $350 as a one-time only enrollment fee. To sit for the exam, if you apply for it early, you are able to qualify for the 900 early bird fee. That's $900. And if you were to take it a little bit later and register a little bit later, it will cost you $1,200. So I know there's already some gasps there. Yeah, you're thinking, wow, that's a pretty penny. Scholarships. And that's why we talk about scholarships. So there are 2 scholarships in particular that I want to highlight, which is the Acca Scholarship, the Women's Scholarship, and the Students' Scholarship. So if you are a student, let's start with students first. If you're a student in any of the 14 affiliated universities here in Malaysia, then you will be able to qualify for the Student Scholarship. Yeah, if you're, I would say, a woman, yeah, if you're a female working in the finance industry today who's interested in taking the exam, you also qualify for the Women's Scholarship. Finally, you have something called the Access Scholarship. Then this is at the discretion of the society. There's a few, I would say, terms and conditions applied. Yeah, and some of those terms and conditions will be, for example, how much you volunteer together with the society. But we'll talk a little bit more when you meet me later on in the ballroom next door. All right? Do you mind? Sorry. Okay? The last thing I want to talk about is just how much time you need to spend to study for this really rigorous program. The answer is 300 hours on average per level. So that's 300 hours without Facebook, Instagram, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and all these other kinds of apps. Yeah? So it's pure studying time. That's about 300 hours on average for each level. The thing is, most of those who do pass regularly study for more than 300 hours because of the dedication it requires to get through the material and to prepare themselves for the exam. And why are they preparing so much? The answer is because of what you see on the slide right now. Exam rates, passing rates. The truth is passing rates are kept low for a reason. Yeah? So on average, every cohort has about a 40 to 50% passing rate. That means that if you were to start off with 100 people at the start of the program, and you make it all the way to the 3rd level of the program, that 100 people will have narrowed down to 10 people. So you will have a 1 in 10, you will have a 1 in 100 chance to be able to pass all the way until that CFA level 3. So there's a 90% reduction in your cohort size as you progress through the levels. This is because we want to keep that scarcity. We want to be able to make sure only the best of the best earn the CFA Charter. Only the best of the best are able to pass the exams. And only the best of the best will eventually be able to manage money on behalf of a client and take care of that money with the best intent possible. That's why this is designed to be that way. All right. Now let's talk about the final thing today, which is the network effect. Yeah, the network advantages that you get by joining not only the CFA Society Malaysia, but also the broader CFA Global Network. You'll be able to have access to employers outside of Malaysia. In fact, here's a fun fact. There are 4,000, or is it 5,000 CFA charter holders in Singapore. In Malaysia, that's about 800 to 900 charter holders here in Singapore. But the beautiful part is I would say easily a third of the CFA charter holders in Singapore are actually from Malaysia. And the reason why they're able to get that job, to get their foot in the door, to get their interview, to be employed in a country like Singapore, a financial capital like Singapore or Hong Kong, is because of the knowledge that they get after studying for the CFA exams. Right? So that is the benefits of the CFA program. Now, this is the Q&A. If there's any questions, please scan the code here really quickly, and we will save some time to answer those questions. But most importantly, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the second type of certificate called the ESG Certificate. Now, the CFA program, the CFA Charter, is all about getting into the financial industry. Now you've gotten in, how do you keep your job? How do you keep being employed in the broader financial industry? The answer is that you constantly have to keep updated with the trends. Yeah, that's forming the broader landscape at this particular point in time. And how do you do that? One of the biggest trends right now taking over the financial industry is ESG investing. There is only one comprehensive certificate that teaches you how do you integrate ESG into your analysis. And that is offered by the CFA Institute, and it's called the Certificate in ESG Investing. Now, everyone, I think over here, just a quick glance, and I can see everyone here already has some form, of knowledge about what's happening in the world right now. Everyone cannot escape from ESG. Yeah, as Thanos said, what did Thanos say? Thanos said that he was inevitable. Guess what? ESG is the same. Yeah, ESG is inevitable. Why do I say that? It's because every single large financial investor, from BlackRock in the US all the way to here in Malaysia, all the major funds, PNB, QAP, EPF, all of these have already signed the ESG commitments. So you can't escape. Yeah? The beautiful part is there's only a few. Yeah, there's only a few investment professionals today that have any sort of skills that are relevant to ESG investing. Less than 1% of people have some form of proof that they have knowledge in how to integrate ESG into their analysis. Less than 1%. Immediately by taking this certificate, you can stand out against 99% of your competitors out there. And that's the beauty of the CFA Institute's Certificate in ESG Investing. Let's talk a little bit about syllabus overview. There is about 9 chapters in ESG investing, in the certificate for ESG investing. And these really tell you, in a nutshell, exactly how do you quantify, I would say, intangible things like relationship between an employer and an employee. It tells you how to quantify things like carbon emissions. It tells you how to quantify, governance principles. And how do you then use those separate, different, intangible items and integrate that into hard financial analysis? Yeah, ultimately leading you to say, hey, this is an underpriced stock, this is an overpriced stock, this is a mispriced stock, an undervalued stock, or an overvalued stock. And that's why the CFA Institute's Certificate for ESG Investing is once again very highly regarded by the industry today. All right, we'll talk about this a little bit more because I want to spend more time on Q&A if there are any. And if there's interest, please do scan this QR code again, and you are able to go to the website and I have your questions answered. All right, okay, beautiful. Okay, now let's go into Q&A. We have about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A. The first question I have here is, what is the average passing mark for CFA Level 1 in 2021? Now, is there an average passing mark? The answer is no. Everyone will be graded against the curve. Only the best 30% will be passing on to the next level. Yeah, so that minimum passing score changes from year to year, from cohort to cohort, depending on how well they do. Now, but however, on average, that score should be somewhere between 70% to 75%. So you have to get 70 to 75% of these questions right in order to have a fighting chance to head on to level 2. The second question, is there a specific list of companies that we need to be working at to attain charter holder? Is there a specific list of companies? The answer is no. Because the importance here is not the company, it is your role. So if you are working in a finance-related role in, say, a construction company, yeah, that is also relevant to getting the CFA charter holder. If you're, for example, working in MRCB, which has to do a lot of imports and currency management, you also qualify for the CFA charter. Anything that is a finance-related role. The third question is a little personal. The third question asked, how did I land my job? How did I land my job? That is a very good question. I think it's, as the formula says, 10% luck, 20% skill, 50% concentrated power of will. No, that's a lyric from, you know that, right? That's a lyric from Linkin Park, right? Never mind. The lack of laughter from the audience shows our age again. No worries. Don't tell me no one here knows Linkin Park. Mike Shinoda, Chester. Forget about it. Anyways, how did I land my job? Well, the answer is pretty simple. I always had an interest in investing. That has been my passion since I was young. My dad actually inculcated in me, because my dad was a retail trader. He used to tell me stories of Park Sen at that time. He used to tell me stories of dagang dialogue all the way back, instead of stories of Aladdin and whatnot. So that passion for investing has been, I would say, rather long, and in me for a pretty long time. So I worked towards that goal, and that's how I managed to land the job. Next, I'm on track to pursue my ACCA. How will the CFA be more beneficial than the ACCA? Beautiful question. What's the difference between ACCA and the CFA? The ACCA, now I'm not going to say that they're bad or whether they're good, but what you have to understand is your final goal. What do you want to be? Ultimately, do you want to be able to manage money, or do you want to be able to prepare accounts? So the ACCA is fantastic in teaching you how do you prepare financial statements and accounts. The CFA teaches you how to analyze, because that's what the A in CFA is all about, Chartered Financial Analyst. So the CFA goes a step further, not only teaching you how do you read the accounts, the financial statements, but how do you then utilize this knowledge in order to make a financial decision. And that's the difference between the ACCA and the CFA. For exams passing rate, why part 1 has the lowest passing rate? The answer is because of a great degree of underestimation for how difficult the first level is. Because the majority of students, and I have been teaching for about 6 to 7 years for the CFA program, the majority of students who take the CFA Level 1 come from stellar academic backgrounds. These are first-class graduates from the top universities in Malaysia, and they come in taking the CFA just like they would their entire lives, right? Which is a combination of rote memorization and last-minute preparation. And that combination has worked spectacularly for them for the first 20 years of their life. But when they were to take the CFA Level 1, they're not only faced with the challenge of having to work while studying, they also have to, because this is also their first exposure to not only, trying to memorize to pass the exam, but how do you then apply the concepts in order to pass the exam? And that's the number one reason why there's such a low passing rate for Level 1. It looks that passing rates are declining. Is this an indication that exams are more tough? The answer is no. The simple answer is that it's because more and more people take the exam every single year. Right? But as I said and mentioned early on, it is a conscious decision in order to maintain the prestige of the CFA Charter, which requires those who are able to pass to have a higher and higher passing rate and consequently be even better than their cohort. Next, for each year, there will be different modules. If I fail in my first attempt, can I reuse the same modules or should I buy a new module? The answer is that it's not that there is different modules from year to year. There are additional modules, and additional relevant modules. So modules which are not relevant will be taken out of the syllabus and relevant modules will then be added into the syllabus. However, the core financial concepts, the fundamentals of finance don't change. Discount rates, time interest of money, and so on and so forth. These are time and tested, and this will continue to remain part of the exam. So I have to say anywhere between 5 to 6% of the syllabus changes, and that's a small percentage. Next question. Will one be able to get any sort of scholarship if they have no degree but is currently doing a professional qualifications for ICAEW or ACCA? This is a very good question, and it requires a very detailed answer that I unfortunately cannot explain in the limited time I have left. Please do meet me at the ballroom next door at the CFA booth, and we can discuss a little bit more about scholarships. Wow, there's quite a number of questions, huh? Let me just take the next one. Can anyone take the Esg Certificate independently of the CFA? The answer is yes. These are two separate certificates. These are two separate exams. So you will be able to take the CFA Investing in ESG today, without taking the CFA Level 1. All right, so I think we have run out of time. The next speaker will be able to teach you how do you hack the exams, am I right? And how do you then beat the odds of passing? All right, with that, I will say thank you so much for your attention, and I hope to see you in the next ballroom for questions.